Hello, everyone. Welcome to Research Notes. Our guest today is the amazing Sumona Bose, who is a research consultant and MPhil graduate cum laude, I must state, from the University of Cape Town, and currently an MSc candidate in public health with a focus on global health at King's College in London. She also has a bachelor's and honors degrees in international relations from the University of Cape Town in South Africa. Sumona is a multidisciplinary scholar and development practitioner. She is committed to implementing scholarship to practice, which is very important, of course, applying the intersection of social sciences, management, and health sciences. Her academic career is inclusive of lecturing, tutoring, and content development, encompassing disciplines such as sociology, international development, and international relations. She has worked for numerous non-governmental organizations and is currently a consultant for Bloem Consulting Services. That was quite a mouthful. I'm glad that I don't have to talk throughout. So, Sumona, welcome to the show and thank you so much for agreeing to be interviewed. How are you today?
I'm quite grateful that you invited me, and it's just great to have this opportunity to talk about our journeys and just to spread more awareness and encouragement.
My first question is just going to be very light. I just want you to kindly share with us how you got to where you are today academically, because I mentioned all these degrees in your profile, and I think it's best to get the information from you in terms of how you got to where you are today.
So I was a very dreamy, delusional, starry-eyed teenager. And the school that I went to, we didn't really have a lot of knowledge of what social sciences is. I mean, we're talking about like a young decade ago. So we social sciences wasn't really bursting out as well. We knew there was
Mm,
a London School of Economics. We knew there was, all these institutions, but we didn't really know, especially coming from like a South Asian background where medicine, law, accounting, engineering, these were like the
mm,
mainstream career choices. So yeah, I actually grew quite underconfident at one point because I say that if I don't want to be these things, does that mean I'm completely null and void? Am I irrelevant?
yes.
But then when I went through my A-level exams and I did primarily the social science subjects, including language, English, I sort of had this hope that, well, my only hope was UCT because I was just like, you know what, let me cut myself some slack. Let me get to at least apply to this institution. Got in.
Mm,
A lot of people was looking into PPE degrees, economics, a lot of people wanted to do law. And I was just there with my little registration form, being like, I don't know what to do because nobody actually guided me into
oh,
what a social sciences degree that I was accepted into entailed. But when
mm,
I looked at the variety of like electives and majors, I actually learned a new style of education post my undergraduate because high school was a completely different traditional format of schooling,
of
even though it was a
course.
Cambridge system. But a social sciences degree at UCT actually helped me overcome a lot of my own shyness, own, the frivolousness I had of, having a very low self-esteem about not knowing what to do. So I
Mm,
think part of gaining that confidence as a person, even though I don't really say that I am, is because social sciences helped me garner this new image thinking in my brain. So I enrolled for international relations and I just picked up this really strong interest for institutions, development aid, and
mm,
went through the stages of just being a social sciences student. And then it's only at honors level where we had to do a variety of interdisciplinary subjects where I really got into um, the benefits of what social sciences is. There, I took gender courses, anthro courses, ecos courses, and I think I just grew much more as a person. And I think something else that pushed me was I'm doing an LSC certificate of professional advancement, and that
Wow.
um, is giving me more management skills,
Mm.
but with a very social sciences center. So I am a all in all true advocate for social sciences. I wouldn't have it any other way. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that wholesome response. So, some of the key points I took away from your input is that the honors and the masters you pursued at UCT were strong and they helped you to sharpen your focus in terms of being interdisciplinary. And I think also as a researcher, for those people that don't know, UCT prides itself in being a research intensive institution. So, their main aim is
Mm-hmm.
research excellence. So maybe in line with that, before I ask you what you're currently focusing on, right? Would you like maybe to define in your own words, like what does it mean to be interdisciplinary? And as someone who has this multidisciplinary focus, what are you currently focusing on as a researcher?
Whenever people say interdisciplinary, and you know this, Prim, it's often you have to sit and think, not one discipline that I have majored in, or it's not one discipline that I'm
Yes.
doing. I think if I had to define interdisciplinary, it would mean waking up one day and thinking about the world all in one go. So it's literally that movie title, everything all the time, everything all at one go. That it's all of that. And I think um based on my experiences about how interdisciplinary studies strengthens your focus, it's about solving different problems using different methods that people may not have focused on in the about solving world hunger using economics and then delivering it through an anthropological view. So as practitioners, we focus that solely because that's what academia is supposed to position itself to help the
Yes.
world to have like this advanced humankind solution. And I think UCT being research intensive also boasts on the interdisciplinary lenses they give. So if you look at the humanities, the social sciences, or the commerce faculty, their course makeup and curriculum is very multidisciplinary. Even in the commerce or in the faculty, it shows how multifaceted human nature is. So I think if I had to define it, interdisciplinary or multidisciplinary responds to human nature. So it's not one dimensional. It's not a microscopic view of the world. And I think that's important of scholars because being um, multidisciplinary allows you to answer a lot of questions in one sentence without exhausting all the answers.
Thank you so much for that. And would you like to share with us maybe a bit of what you're currently focusing on as a researcher? Maybe not everything, but something that you think is very relevant for this particular episode.
Um, so currently, I'm doing my MSc in public health, specializing in global health at King's College London. And although I'm still busy with my coursework, and we haven't gotten to the dissertation stage, which is a milestone from here. What I am currently focusing on research wise is a very specific consulting area of management consulting with environmental, social, and governance frameworks
Mm-hmm.
that includes sustainability, healthcare, and human rights. And again, when people talk about management consulting and research consultancy, interdisciplinary is the word to go to because human rights, social governance, corporate responsibility, health, they are very vast polar opposites, right? But using them in academia and applying that knowledge to your workspace, it becomes like a tight, thin rope that you walk on, but it's eventually becomes a bridge. So I don't know how to specify my research topic because I don't have one as of yet. But I can tell you this, that I chose global health as the specific master's focus is based on my background in human rights, socioeconomic development, conflict, and human rights in general. So human rights that informs global health practices, human rights that inform access to and equitable healthcare. The research that I am pursuing is definitely helping me with a lot of themes around sustainability and corporate ethics legislation. So I think global health definitely gives that foundation of public health, but global health has a niche market to it as well.
So one may ask to say, okay, you're speaking global health and health in general, you're using the terms public health. And people are always asking why we go to get out these degrees and these writing and research skills. And one would ask, how would you intend to use the relevance of your research? Does it have any kind of real world impact?
I think as a researcher, we've all had those questions of, are we doing impactful work? Is this translatable to like real world development?
Exactly.
And I think my decision to pursue public health was specifically because to practice what I learned. So that MPhil background that I had and whatever I went through, research wise, it definitely positioned me to use that interdisciplinary knowledge in a field like health, where we work with different issues, different people every day that require us to learn and know a lot of different things.
Yes.
And I would say that apart from the King's College exposure that I'm getting, I'm also enrolled in a London School of Economics certificate of professional development, where you have access to world-class academics and world-class LSE faculty that train you in becoming professionals and guide you through becoming, a very learned, very credible people. And I think that's where my focus of management comes in as well. So if I use UCT and, or being someone who aspires to do a PhD, if I reserve that for my academic credentials and my academic strengths, then I'm going to use that LSE certificate of development to practice what I learned in management. So I'm actually trying to bridge that gap between academia and practice, but I'm also trying to push myself into being an all-rounded person who can work in corporate, who can teach in academia, who can pursue a second master's. So it may sound overwhelming, and I know there's so many of us out there that are doing so many things, but as academics, you're just like, the energy, I don't know where to channel it anymore. I think it took me a very long time until this year to finally say, I've done my MPhil, I'm doing my MSc, I'm doing this certificate of professional development, I'm working as a consultant. So there is that path of like, I'm using social sciences and health sciences to do management. And it helps because some of the projects that we do are very people-centered. So that research perspective comes from a social sciences background. So if you do social sciences, it will train you into being proficient academic researchers, like whether be it lit reviewers or examining research methodologies, everything that I have learned specifically comes from a social science background, and whatever King's, adds to that, they definitely ask you to retain whatever knowledge you have so that you can practice it. So I'm all about practicing what you learn so that you can be a good professional. And I also believe that academia and academics should also term themselves as professional, because knowledge production is a career. It's an industry. And I think we must channel that energy to call our industry like a knowledge production economy. That's what it is. And I've considered that from day one.
So what I really like from what Sumona is giving us here is, number one, that yes, we gain essential knowledge and skills through academic research, particularly research-oriented degrees like your honors and masters. And in terms of real-world impact, you can do it in so many ways. And in your case, Sumona, you are being intentional about looking at areas where you can contribute, as an analyst and also as an advisor. You mentioned management, you mentioned also consultancy. And so the relevance of you as a researcher is what you bring when you write down something, whether it's a literature review, when you provide consultancy services because you are discussing issues from different angles, and also even when you go into a class, you are equipping students, right? Whether as a tutor and as a lecturer, with skills based in your own experience, and also just in terms of them adopting academic concepts. I like that you mentioned something about the knowledge economy. I think that I never knew all about research, knowledge, and the knowledge economy when I was younger. There's concepts that were thrown at me perhaps when I was doing my postgraduate studies. So if looking at you 5 to 10 years ago, would you say there's something you wish you knew about pursuing a career in research?
I would tell myself a lot of things in high school. The old Mona, yeah, she had a lot of work to do. But I think what I would suggest I told myself, but also whatever I would tell myself 10 years ago, I would say the same to young women, especially women of color all around, that there is space for us, no matter how feel, no matter how much pressure or uncertainty you may face. Sure, there's a lot of perceptions about how academia is cutthroat. There's the publish or perish culture. But I think the biggest quote or thing that I would say to my young self is, academia is not what people define it to be. You can define academia. You can go into a space being a brown woman, bringing your own knowledge, and that is knowledge production. And I think when you see the traditional knowledge economies, when you see the imperial groundwork laid on how academia is placed and everything, of course you feel intimidated. You feel, I mean, I was very intimidated when I came to UCT in 2015. I did not know half the things I learned. No, I don't even think I know things now. But I think I would definitely say that intimidation is the first step to achieving something big. So I think just being grateful to be exposed, but using that opportunity to also spread awareness. And every person that I come across, every woman of color, every man of color, like people of color in general, I'm just like, our time is here, guys. Like, this is our time. And I think for me, a special interest in whatever I do is Global South and post-colonial studies, because of my background of being raised in Africa, Definitely. I think in high school, I really wish that I used that part of my identity more to become more genuinely invested into way forward. But I don't, curse myself every night about it because it's a journey, right?
Of course,
And I
definitely.
also want to tell young people out there that it's okay. It's okay if you're out of a job for like some months. Granted, there's
Mm.
privileges to that, but it's not the end of the world. And there is someone out there who is waiting to use your skills. And we all have skills. And what I've learned about the NGO, the management sector, and everything is that there's always a place for you. And you should do everything in your power to avail what you can, be it online courses, networking. There's a lot for us. And I think we are the best representation for our dreams.
I hope you got that. We are the best representation for our dreams. So definitely, I also wish I knew all of this when I was younger. Intimidation was major. You come into a university space, particularly in the social sciences, when you do politics and international relations, the big theorists are white men, probably from Europe, and they continue to be dominant. And even most of the faces you'll see in lecture theaters look like that. Even the experts on TV look like that. So usually you don't see yourself creating or contributing knowledge that speaks to you and your identity or your experiences or what you've come across, whether, for example, the both of us, as a migrant. But I like how you emphasize the need to also put yourself into research. And the fact that you're in a university, in a degree program, you can definitely do that, particularly with the institutions you've been in. And I think I like that a lot. So people should know that they can gain access. And once they're in, they can also think about promoting their own representation because that's what we need to be doing, right? Research is about filling in gaps. There are wide gaps, particularly when you look at identity, representation, and crafting solutions that are relevant to the wide range of problems we face, whether it be health-wise and other development aspects. So I think I also want you to speak to me without answering questions that I pose to you. If you'd like to ask me something as well, you're more than welcome to.
It's not more of a question. I think it's more of a discussion that I wanted to
Yes.
have. And thank you so much for bringing up the aspect of being a migrant woman as well. I think I think coming back to, I think we've had similar research choices about migration, about different
Yeah,
contexts. But I just
definitely.
I just wanted to know, we've taken on so much emotional labor in our academic journeys because of our
Yes.
topics and all of
Mhm.
that. And I think I want to ask you, and we can have a discussion and debrief about it. Do you think it's worth it? Do you think we sitting here as women of color discussing our journey as early career academics or policy managers or whatever it is it worth it? Because right now, when you look at, women of color in the game, there is like, there is visibility, but there's realistic disparity. And we have
Definitely.
poured representation and identity politics into whatever we do. I mean, even with my public health dissertation, there's going to be some level of minority politics that I'm going to
Yes.
incorporate because I believe like giving back to academia is speaking about representation. So I don't know, is it worth it? Like how is the struggle seeing you? Like where's the struggle hitting you?
Hectic. Thank you so much for that challenging question. So I think we definitely need to look at this from two angles. The realistic, I think you use that word, that
Mm,
academia and research in general are still these big industries where there are certain dominant views that or theories or even concepts that you have to promote in order to get ahead as
mm,
a researcher or even as a policy advisor, or even if you're managing a development program. And then there's the you, for example, in my case, wanting to channel feminist goals and also wanting women to be visible and their challenges to be addressed. So there was always double work in my view when I was doing my thesis. And I think even in your case, where you write
mm,
in the way that is expected and you present the dominant theories relating, for example, to the issue of migration management, right? But then you then bring in this chapter, or within even every chapter, say, but hey, women experience these issues in way more different ways because we are all gendered beings and there are issues that need to be addressed. And then it is then my labor, right, to make sure that if it's doing interviews or if it's digging deep into the literature or media interviews that often don't show these voices, what exactly can I bring to light? But if you're doing it in a thesis, many people don't read it. Your thesis probably ends in the hands of your examiners, editors, yourself, interested readers. But you need to then speak about your research, find platforms where you can channel that information to gain better awareness. And I think with the information age we're living in, it means that you also have then, I don't want to call it a burden, but the task to take out those key points from your research so that they aid in different spaces, whether at a conference, and also now using the power you gain as a consultant and a specialist, but hope that the people you're advising actually think about it. Because as you have heard, like projections are that we won't reach gender equality within the next, I don't know, almost even over 100 years. So it's a labor we are stuck with, and that people that come after us have to continue with. Yes. I don't know if that answers your question.
No, it definitely does. And I think I just also want to make a special note about gender studies playing a very influential role in my thinking.
Yes.
International relations isn't gendered, except lived realities are in the world.
Exactly.
And after I got into my honors year and pursued my master's, and even now in my public health degree, gender is playing such a cornerstone of whatever I do. And I think that exposure to gender also changed completely the way I view things, whether it's my lived experience or whether it's even quantifying my lived realities. You don't have to know like what you're going through, but it helps at a certain age to define what you went through. And I think
exactly
with social sciences, a lot of deconstructive feedback, it's very self-reflexive and it helps you. But I'd also want to like demystify that idea of social sciences won't get you money, because social sciences it's like a online therapy class, like you're paying to write a diary note. It's not, because social science degrees prepares you for degrees for careers and further studies everywhere. I mean, you and I are prime examples of how our social sciences degrees have, even if nothing, just strengthened us as feminist scholars just in general. Because even when I pick up a book and I read it, there's like 10 things that I'm just thinking about. What would Audre Lorde think? What would Gayatri Chakraborty Spivak think? And I think that opening that door is a lifetime achievement in my case. And putting yourself out there and using your social science skills is what's also going to make you bankable. So we are living in an age where your degrees are supposed to make you bankable, and it's vice versa. You are also supposed to contribute to your degree to be bankable. It's everything is non-conventional, non-traditional, and I don't think we should shy or shame people who are going into arts, social sciences, or humanities, because there is a wide gap in understanding human problems in this world. That traditional STEM or whatever, science-related, commerce-related fields cannot only solve. They're very important, but we have to have that balance of social sciences, because without social scientists, we cannot function as a society, because society is it. Where does social come from? Society. So it's all in the math. So that's what I'd always request and spread awareness to young people, learners everywhere. Even if you want to take a social science elective, do it, because it will open your eyes to many things. Many things. And yeah, it's just a great way to also know yourself, also know when have you not been conditioned, when can you be an intervention, and when can you be a solution as well. Not many mainstream degrees would address gender-based violence. Chances are they would silence it, right?
Exactly.
So with a social science degree, you, as a man in an engineering field or medical setting, you can understand how you can become a change, how you can address masculinity or the different varieties of masculinity, or how you can be an ally to marginalized communities. This is something, the traditional notions of medicine or sciences wouldn't address. But now we're changing it. And that's what decolonizing education means. We are now using a separate deconstructive lens to use ourselves as learners, scholars, as agents of change. So don't just be a scholar, be an agent of change wherever you go to. And it's not about how many degrees you get or what your grade point average is or whatever it is. At the end of the day, you want to make a change and you have to contribute towards making that change. And I think that's where becoming an agent of change is.
Don't just be a scholar, be an agent of change. Don't just be a scholar, be an agent of change. I hope that, hit home as it did for me. I really like what you mentioned, right? And I think the fact that social sciences or arts are looked down upon is because what is dominant is capitalist, and we've been framed as people that are just supposed to channel our energies to ensure that the economy grows, right? And not to think deeply about what we're going through. So those people who silence you or denounce being a social scientist by saying you're paying for a degree to go through therapy, that's actually being dismissive and, not promoting the social justice and change that we need. Do you have any last words for our viewers as well as listeners? Because this will be on YouTube in video format, but also as an audio on podcast format.
I'm very excited. This is my first podcast, and I was telling you before, like, it was on my to-do list to be a podcast guest. So hopefully I'll get invited to more podcasts. Yes, I'm very excited. I think subscribe to Research Notes, subscribe to Dr. Primrose Beamer.
Definitely.
And I will definitely share everything. But also I'd like to take this opportunity to appreciate what you're doing. It all starts from initiative, and you have taken that initiative as well. So I think you are also inspiring other young women out there who want to become an agent of change, to change the narrative. And in order to change the narrative, one must realize the agency they have. Big ups to you, sis.
Oh, thank you so much. And big ups to you as well. I mean, there will be more episodes and there's no harm in us having more conversations. So you can, I don't know, have a podcast session with me every quarter, perhaps. Yeah. So thank you so much.
I'm writing it down now. I'm like, yeah,
you just need to set the dates and put them on your calendar.
Just that.
Nice one.
Yes. No, actually, I'm holding you onto it. Whenever you and I feel chatty, which is like every day of the week, we'll just be like, the audience wants to know.
Yes,
so let's sit
put
down
this on
and
research
chat.
notes.
let's just chat about anything and everything.
Awesome. So thank you so much once again, Sumona, for joining us today on Research Notes podcast series. I'm Dr. Primrose Beamer. I'm on a mission to demystify the world of research by engaging in conversations and speaking to a diverse set of intellectuals, academics, industry professionals, and creators. It's goodbye for now.